Hey there again, everybody. Boyd back with you, and we're here with another update on our 3D printed Nautilus. Things are looking pretty good, you guys. You can see in this picture here that I've got most of the big chunks of the model added on now. The big details on the bottom, everything, the big parts that go on the hull are all put in place now. So I've just been going around doing all my putty work, and that's been taking me quite a while. This model has a lot of nooks and crannies, and just trying to make sure I get each one of them straightened out as best as I can. And then after that, I'll be going back and checking, by putting a little bit of primer down and checking on where I need to add back the rivet detail. I talked about that in the last video. I've got that little micro applicator tool, and I'll be using my little doming compound, the Solar Res, and just go around putting rivets back in where I can. The good thing is rivets are just about everywhere on this ship, so wherever I blend it in, it'll be pretty hard to see. We should be able to pull that off, but so we're down to the nitty-gritty here, you guys. I'm just going to be masking off the little LED ports and the windows and things like that, and we'll be ready to spray down our main hull color. I'm going to be using some craft paint for that, probably use my minigun because I'm going to have to cover a wide area, and I'm going to mix that up kind of thin where it'll kind of give a nice dual layer effect. I don't want this red oxide to bleed through totally, but I want to have a kind of a mixed combination of corrosion on this thing. And then we're going to be coming back and doing the rest of the weathering work on this by hand using probably some artist chalk, probably some oils and different things. I really enjoy doing the weathering, so we're going to do some kind of drain off runnage things on it and little accumulated spots of rust in some of the nooks and crannies and things like that. I have some really good reference photos from the movie, especially when they showed the full-size set that they built when the upper half of it was out of the water and they were walking around on top. So you got some good reference material there. I think we can do a pretty good job capturing the look of it here, but I may do my own little thing in a few spots here too. That's why I really enjoy doing weathering. It's just fun. It doesn't have to be perfect, and you can just kind of be creative. So we'll be putting on, after I get done doing the last of the primer and everything, and I make sure all my sanding is done, because handling this model is quite the chore, you guys. It's gotten pretty heavy, and it's big. You got to be really careful when you're swinging around not to bang the nose or the tail on something and all that kind of good stuff. So I want to hold off on putting all the small little detail parts on until we get all of this major work done, which I'm getting really close. Once that's all done, I'll glue all that stuff on, and then we can do our final paint job. All right, so that's about where we're at so far. I'm going to get everything set up here. I'm going around this thing one more time doing putting and sanding and things like that. I won't bore you with that. You guys seen that a million times on my channel here. But when I get it to the point where it's ready for paint, we'll come back here and we'll get everything set up and start laying the paint down. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Be right back with that, everybody. All right, you guys, well, I'm back with you again, and I've made a lot of progress here. I spent the last couple hours getting all the seams taken care of and puttied and sanded out. And then after that, I came back and fixed all the rivets using that little method I talked about with the Solar Res and the little applicator tool. And that took quite a while. I had to go over the whole thing with a fine-tooth comb, but we got all the rivets put back in place, all blended in. The next step was then, and I went ahead and glued on all the small little detail parts because I want to paint those all at the same time so they'll match and everything. So now I have to be really careful with the model when I handle it because those parts are really delicate and they're everywhere. So you guys will see all that detail up a little closer here once we get it up on the stand. So what the plan is now, guys, is I've gone ahead and sprayed the entire hull down with a base coat of this craft paint here. This is called Earth Brown. Hats off to Chris Cortell, our recently departed friend. He turned me on to this several years ago, and I've been using it on a lot of projects, and I really like it. It works really, really well. I'm cutting this with isopropyl alcohol, about 50-50, spraying it in my minigun. So I've sprayed down the entire hull all around in that basic color. And then we're going to be coming back over the top of that right now with this titanium gold. It's sort of a dirty bronze looking color. And I was kind of surprised when I went back and looked at some more reference. There's been recent video uploaded on YouTube of the Nautilus 11-foot prop, the original one from the movie that's at Disney World somewhere. And I was surprised at actually how gold it looked, with gold with kind of some stains all over it. So we're going to go a little bit different than what I originally thought with the paint scheme, but I'm going to tone it down a little bit because they had that model in there displayed in some really bright lighting, and I don't think it looks quite that bright in person, just in normal lighting. So we're going to kind of tone that down a little bit. But the plan is I'm going to dust over this this brown color here, which hopefully in the nooks and crannies it will leave that kind of, you know, rust in the nooks and crannies look that we see right now. And the gold will kind of take over. And then after that, we're going to dust over this with some black, just kind of randomly to kind of, you know, break it up and darken it up a little bit more. And then we're going to come back after that. We'll be done with the spray painting part of it. And we're going to take it over to the bench, put it up on the stand, and that's where we're going to start doing all the weathering by hand. I'm going to be using probably some chalks and probably some oils and different things like that, and that's when we'll really start making it pop. We're going to highlight all the rivets, you know, and the rust stains and the drain off streaks and all that. But right now it's time to spray our gold on here, so let me get started with that. Now what I want to do is I'm not trying to put a, you know, solid coat of gold on this. Like I said, I've got this stuff mixed pretty thin, and I just really want to dust it on here and kind of, you know, unevenly almost a little bit, and just get that overall sheen on this. And then we're going to call it a day at that point. We're going to come back after it dries and do a little bit of black over the top of that. And like I said, then we'll be able to head over to the bench. But here we go, you guys. I got my little mini gun set up here. We're just going to start dusting over this. So thin that it's even barely even showing up on there, you guys, but it's showing up. I can definitely see it popping on top of the rivets and stuff like that. But that's what I'm going for. I don't want it to be overpoweringly, you know, like a solid gold or whatever. Try to get all along the bottom. This thing has a lot of recessed areas and nooks and crannies that you have to cover. You can see it turning getting more of a sheen on it. I've just got this taped in place. I want to make sure that doesn't fall off. So it gets painted the same as the rest of everything. We got to come back at the end and put all the glass in that part. Get all the way down here on the bottom. And these little recessed areas. I'm going to have to come back and paint the propeller by hand at the end too. Now what I want to do is kind of face forward, just kind of highlight some of these raised areas here. It's looking very coppery right now, which I kind of don't like. I think I might add a little bit more paint in here. And get just a little bit more of the gold come through, you guys. So let me pause for a second. I'll get that adjusted and we'll come back and try this again. Okay, I got that straightened out, you guys, and I just tested a couple spots here, and we're definitely getting more of our gold like we wanted. So time to continue on. There, you can start seeing that a whole lot better now. Yeah, it's surprisingly really gold looking, you guys. At least underneath all the crud that's all over the ship once we do our weathering and everything. So it won't look nearly this bright after we get to where we want to be. Okay. Down on the bottom side of those fins. Make sure we get everything on the top here. Size I can get while we can see it. Okay, I think I'm going to stop right about there, you guys. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to let this dry for a little while, then I'm going to have to flip it over on the other side, and we'll have a go at the other side of the hull. I won't show you that part because it's going to be basically the same thing. So when we come back again, we're going to be putting some of the black on it. And that's going to tone this thing way down. So be right back with that. Back again, everybody. Things have been drying here for a little while, so now it's time to dust on our black. I'm just using some easy stuff here. This is a flat black, and I'm just going to stay back really far and just kind of fog this on all over the surface here. And that's just going to, I'm making sure I change directions and everything. I don't want to, you know, concentrate too much on one area. We're just creating little shadows and just kind of toning this whole thing down. That's what the plan is here, you guys. It's not going to take a whole lot. Just going over the, kind of far and close. Just getting rid of that, really bright gold that we saw on there. I'm going to go a little bit darker on the bottom side. Okay. Up on the spine, up on the top here, wheelhouse. I want to get at these from the front a little bit. Get the back side here. Again, just being real random. Okay, and that brought that down considerably, you guys. I'm really happy with that. Starting to look more like I imagine the ship looking like anyway. Okay, you guys, so that's the basic spray painting that we're going to do on this. So now I'll have to let this dry again for just a little bit, but when you see it next, we'll have it up on the stand, up on the bench, and we can get up close and personal and start doing some really neat little weathering effects all over this and kind of blending it all in. Once we get all that once we get all that done, we'll finish one more time by coating the whole thing down with some dull coat. So I'll be right back, guys. Get it all set up for you. All right, you guys, well, here we are with the hull, and you can see that we've got this really nice aged bronze color on here over top of the red oxide. So we're getting a little bit of the red oxide coming through in a couple spots. I sprayed this on kind of thin, and I actually went ahead and completely finished the other side because I wanted to get my kind of, procedure laid down, the layers, the colors that I wanted to use and all that. And so what we want to do is replicate that now on this side. It's a difficult model to paint in this condition, but now all of the small little detail parts and everything are put on, so we don't have to come back and touch anything up. I'm going to have to kind of be careful painting around some of our glass up here and stuff like that, but the most part in the back here I can work out. So what we're going to be doing now, you guys, is putting the second layer down, actually the third layer. Like I said, we've got our red oxide underneath of this, then we got our aged bronze here. So now we're going to go ahead and lay down this medium earth brown is what they're calling it, which is a nice kind of a dark, to medium brown that's sort of a rust color. And we're just going to put like a light overcoat of this. Okay, so I'm just going to start at the very back here and just start spraying this on. And I definitely don't want this to look completely covered, you guys. I'm just, shadowing it on here. I want to get some of the, detail parts, but we want to just kind of, on the main part of the hull here, we want to just kind of shadow that on. We want a little bit of this aged bronze to keep on coming through for us. Got to remember my wheelhouse is not attached permanently. It could fall off, so we got to be careful. I think I'll just kind of stay about that far away from the glass, and I'll do the rest with a brush up in that kind of front area up there. Okay, we need to put in a little bit more paint. So far, so good, you guys. Like I said, I practiced a little bit there on the other side, and so I'm pretty confident this will come out pretty good here. I'm going a little heavier on the bottom side here because that is going to be more corroded than the upper half here. Top there in between the eyes. Okay. Just a little bit over the top of the razorbacks there. Forward area. Upper depth. Going through some paint here, you guys. Like I said, I've got this mixed up super thin. I'd say it's about 70-30, 70 isopropyl alcohol and 30% paint. Again, we're using the good old craft paints here. These things, once you figure out how to use it, it works excellent. The one thing that I like to do with it always, though, is put a nice seal coat over it. It'll clear either matte or gloss, just because it tends to be a little bit on the soft side. Okay, guys, and that's basically how we're going to be looking here. Just see if I didn't miss anything here. Some big panels. Like I said, I'm going a little bit heavier on the bottom. Just a little bit on the top here. Just kind of fogging that on. I don't want it. I want some of that bronze to keep on coming through up there, you guys. Okay. A little bit on the edges of our fins. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that, you guys. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come back and switch over to some black paint. We're going to, again, mix that up really thin. And we're going to come back now with our airbrush, and we're going to go over all these little lines of rivets here. And that way it's going to give us this breakup of the, you know, of the individual panels and everything. That's where it really starts looking really cool. So let me get that set up, and we'll come back right back and start painting some more. Okay, you guys, so I'm going to start adding our shadowing on our panel lines here using the black. I've turned down my air pressure down to about 25 psi. I've got this black thin down super thin, and I'm not going to take the time to do the whole thing because it's probably going to take me about a good 45 minutes to do this whole thing, but I'm going to show you the basic concept of all this, okay? So now we have to be a little bit more precise on the painting. I can't just slather it all over. I've got to stay kind of right on these little panel lines. So, oops, let me get the camera where I won't keep bumping into it for you there. And I have to get pretty close, so we'll start off just going on this one up here straight down. And that's all it is, guys, just like that. A little bit of that shadowing. Okay, so it kind of trails off at the edges. Then we go across. We'll make this little X. And down here. here. You don't have to be perfect, but you want to be, you know, you want to kind of stay on this pattern here, you guys, where you're, you know, following these shapes. And across on this one. Just kind of a little bit more at random in these other recessed areas at the front. Like this line right here. Like that. Over the top of our salon window here. Just like that, you guys. Do a little bit on our dive plane. Want to get these fins just a little bit. A little bit around the front part of the ram. You can already see what this is doing, you guys. It's taking it all down. Just like that. Okay, let's go up here, a little bit down in our breathers. Like that. Make a couple more of these straight lines. Starting to look a little bit like a zebra, but don't worry, you guys, this is all going to be blended in when we continue on with our layers here. Alright, as you can see, guys, it's progressing along pretty good here. I'm going to keep on doing this. The battery in the camera is just about to quit anyway, so I'll get that all recharged up. And I'm going to have to work this same thing all the way down on this bottom side, you guys. I'll get that all done, and then we're going to come back and we're going to dust over this one more time with our brown to make that blend back in over the top of that. But this time it'll be a really, really thin coat. And then we're going to come back and dust over the whole thing randomly with this black from really far away. And that's going to tie everything together, okay? Once we get all that laid in, we'll be able to take it over and set it on the stand, and I'll be doing the rest of the paintwork with this by hand, doing our weathering, okay? So a little bit more steps to go, but it's you can get the general idea of what this is looking like, okay? So I'll be right back and show you the results of how we're doing here. All right, you guys, so I've been layering things on here now, and this next little step that I'm doing right here, I went back with the medium brown again over the top of all of our black shading that we did here that helped blend that in. And now what I've been doing is going back with my my hull gold color here, and you know, the aged titanium or aged bronze, and just lightly fogging on the middle of these panels, trying not to overlap too much onto the shaded areas that we did, you guys. And you can see what we've got now is we've got some areas of the ship where the that nice original shiny color is still coming through, okay? And I've already gone over this whole thing. I'm just kind of touching up here and there just to kind of show you what it looks like. I did less of it on the bottom, but that's given us that multi-layered look now, you guys. So the last thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to I'm going to dump this little bit of paint here. I'm going to come back with my black, and we're going to fog in over a little bit from a distance over this whole thing, so it's darkened up pretty much like the other side is. Okay, that'll kind of just help tie everything together here. And I'm going way back, guys. I'm probably about a foot away. This is very thin black. Went through that fast. I should say, guys, that this is like a NATO black. It's like a super dark gray black. You see what this is doing? It's just making everything more subtle, not so stark. We definitely want, you know, color contrast on here, but we don't want it like insane. And we just want a little bit of that bright original color to be peeking through here and there. Okay, I apologize for the compressor noise, but that's basically it for these layers, you guys. Let me reach down and shut this off. That's just about it for the layers on this, and I'm going to let this cure up probably about a good half hour or so. We'll take it over and set it on the stand now, and now we're going to have some more fun by coming back and doing all of our hand work. We're going to be adding some streaks, you know, of some drain off lines like salt, combination of salt water and algae, just some general highlights, a little bit more orange looking rust in some of the nooks and crannies here and there, and then that's going to be about it, you guys. It's pretty much getting pretty close to being done. I've got to paint the little light fixture here separately. I'll be working on that off to the side, but looking really good, you guys. I hope you like the look that we've got on this, and really happy with it. Of course, once we get everything sealed up and everything done, we're gonna spray the whole thing down with a coat of dull coat. So, but let me get everything wrapped up here, get moved over to the other bench, and we'll start doing the hand weathering stuff. Okay, so we've moved over to the bench now, and it's time to finish up the rest of our paint job here, you guys. I'm getting ready to do all the rest of this by hand. I'm using a couple different mediums here. I'm using this this oil-based paint here for our algae. I really like this because we can thin this way down and we can get that nice fade effect where it doesn't look blobbed on there and look all the same color. We want to have a kind of a darker color and then kind of trail off as it goes down. So I'm using a little bit of regular paint thinner. This is not lacquer thinner. This is like mineral spirits, or like, you know, really diluted thinner, so it won't go through our regular paint. It'll just be enough to melt this stuff, and we can start dragging that down. So I'm going to start off here just by putting a little bit of it on my brush. And this stuff is almost like, you can think of it as being like super concentrated, you guys, so you don't want to go crazy. I'm just going to put a little blob of this at the very top of each limber hole here, and carry it off down to the side a little bit. And you can see in its basic form, it's really, it looks too thick and it looks too strong on there. So we're gonna dilute that down, and like I said, carry it down onto the side of the ship a little bit here. This little, doing these little touches like this really brings out the little extra in your models. Okay, so we've got that all worked in there. Now I've got my thinner here, and I'm just dipping this in. And I'm just going to start pulling it out of there. Let me get this out of the way so I don't put my elbow in it. And then we're going to just make sure when we drag it out, guys, we're just going to drag it straight down like this. Okay. And just do a, a little variation here and there. Don't want it to all look the same. So if you get some of it that doesn't look strong enough, you can come back and put a little bit more in there and then drag it down again. Just kind of think about, natural, where it would go if you visioned it yourself, leaking down the side of this thing. Kind of run off down on the top, and you want to make sure you kind of look from above and below, because the light changes. I don't want this to be massively strong either, you guys. I don't want it to be too powerful. I can see it's kind of faint in some spots, so we'll just bring a little bit more of it back in. Just dipping it back in the stuff I got on my towel there. Just want it to be enough where it'll when someone's looking at the model, it kind of catches their eye, but doesn't overpower. Make sure whenever you trail off, you don't leave a crooked edge, guys, because gravity would not, you know, that's what you want to be thinking about. Just keep going straight down. Okay, I'm liking this. A little bit more in this last one over here. Okay, and you guys can see that in the shot there. Okay, so now I'm just gonna kind of air dry this a little bit. Now what I'm doing next, guys, is I've got my next medium here, and this is artist chalk. This is white, and so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna kind of come in here and we're gonna start, you know, not right up at the very top. We want to kind of have it down just a little bit, you know, to where it's going to kind of trail off for us. I've got to make sure this brush is completely dry when I do this. Let's kind of dry it off like this here, you guys. Don't want to do this part wet because it'll just soak in immediately and start smudging. We want it to go on there nice and fine. And again, a little bit of this goes a long way. I don't want it to look stark white, you guys. I want it to look, you know, like it's blending in. My hand a little bit and see how we're looking here. Okay, we'll start off back here. And it doesn't take much. You can see what this is doing. Like that. Right now it's too strong. I definitely want it blended in more, but that's okay. We can take care of that. And you can see right now that that looks kind of strong, right, you guys? Okay, so now we're going to come back with our thinner again. And what this is doing is it's melting the two of these colors together. So you get just that little bit of variation there. All right. Okay. So now we like how that looks. Now this I'm going to take as one last little thing here. After this is all done here, you guys, and this is all dry and everything, I'm going to take my black again and my airbrush and just lightly dust over that whole thing, and that blends that all in and kind of subdues it a little bit. But we've got one more little step we're going to do here first. And that's where we're going to start using some of this powdered rust. This is some awesome stuff. This is actually real rust, like oxide. So again, this stuff is extremely concentrated and very powerful. We don't want to go crazy with it. So I'm just going to start dabbing this in up in these little, around these limber holes here, where you'd expect the rust to sort of build up. And a little bit inside, so it mixes with that algae. Go around these little handrails here, just around the edges. Again, it looks kind of bright right now, you guys, but don't worry, we're gonna, the last step here is to come back with that black, and that will tone all that down. Okay. Do a little bit around these little tie downs here and these bollards, around our hatch. And then I want to highlight all these little bolts. Just put some up in the shadowed areas, the recessed areas around these razorbacks. Again, this is going to be a little time consuming because we're going over the whole thing, but it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy this part of model building. Just putting in that little extra layer. Okay, now down here along this seam line here, rust would definitely accumulate, you guys, so we're just going to be brushing this in right along this line right here. And again, I'm not worried about it being too strong right now. Kind of vary it a little bit, not too much. Get these bolt heads on the bottom side here. Right next to the dive plane pivot points. I think that'd be a nice little spot to put some more. Probably a little bit would collect down in there. Want to be a little bit random. Don't want to go all the same everywhere. So we're on our hatch detail here. Little mini hatch up on the top. Oh, I hope you guys are enjoying this. It's always a lot of fun, like I said. And there's really kind of no right and wrong as long as you don't like go overboard. You know, you can definitely put too much weathering, and that's something you definitely don't want to do. But okay, let's continue on with these limber holes. Pretty good, you guys, pretty good. Okay, I hope you guys can see this, but I'm way back here in the back. I'm just kind of doing a little bit around the propeller mounts and all that stuff. Everywhere metal is bolted together, that's where it usually rusts. Joint here. Okay, so around our okay, and then I'm going over these grates a little bit, just rubbing it down, kind of blending that in. Just to make them pop a little bit. Just taking an eyeball here, looking back a little. We're going to continue this line here back towards the rear. We'll start looking towards the bottom a little bit. We'll put a little bit on our anchor. Some of these little details here. These pipings and whatever these mechanisms are down here. A little bit on our speed indicator. I was wondering what that was. Somebody commented about that. I had this sitting in place, and I didn't have it on there right, and I thought I glued it on backwards, but it was just sitting there. But yeah, that's actually I guess moving through the water. When that turns, it goes to an instrument inside the ship that tells how fast it's moving. Didn't know that. Learned something new. Rust that up pretty good. Some around our bottom hatch here. Got some more pipes and stuff. And then we got these nice little vents. Just kind of put a little bit on top of those. Hear my printer running in the background probably. I'm printing the next project. I'm doing a Kenny May over at Moonwalker Models is doing the Chris Cortell tribute build, and I definitely want to join in on that, so I'm printing the model for that right now. In honor of Chris, I'm going to be doing a figure. I think you guys will really enjoy it when you find out what it is. It's something you definitely don't see very often. I'll give you a little hint. It's definitely sci-fi, and it's a robot, but it's not Lost in Space, and it's not Robbie. More recent movie, one of my very favorites. Awful hard to find this subject too, but I found it in 3D or on an STL file, and I couldn't believe it. I can't wait to print it out. It's got a lot of parts, very detailed, and hopefully it be partially articulated when we get done with it too. Okay, we'll just do a little bit around these vents here up on top. Just kind of blend some of this stuff together. Just little spots where rust would accumulate. Okay guys, standing back and looking at this, I think we're getting pretty darn close here. Again, I don't want to overdo this. Let me just do a little bit around the Okay, you guys, I think I'm happy with that. Now my next step here will be, I'm just going to come back and dust over this with some black. So let me get that ready really quick. This is going to be a very, very thin coat. It's diluted way down in my airbrush here. So here we go. And what that's going to do, you guys, is it takes a little bit off of that rust, where it's not like massively stark like that. Not, you know, super orange looking. Grab a little bit more here. This is also toning down these this blend-in we did here with our algae. You want it where you can still see it, but not, I don't want it to be like, you know, too strong. Black seems to go through there really fast. That's because it's just about as thin as water. I'm just kind of looking in the camera too to see what you guys can see. Let's do a little bit of shading on these razorbacks again. Down on the bottom, I'm going to leave it a little bit more stark because it definitely will corrode more on the bottom than the top. That's underwater all the time. Okay, you guys, well, there you have it. I am pretty happy. I'm going to finish tidying everything up here. As I said, I'm going to come back and do a coat of my flat coat on top of this, and then that'll really seal everything up and kind of even melt everything together a little bit more. And then all the detail parts are in place and everything, so I think after that I'm going to show you the final reveal here over our Nautilus, you guys. We'll show you all the special effects. I'll get this part put on here and come back with that in just a second. Be right back. Okay, you guys, well, we're back for the final reveal of the model here. I had to search around the house here a little bit to find a nice place to shoot this. It's really big and I wanted to get the lighting just right. But let's just kind of pan around it here a little bit and show you the details. I'll try to zoom in on a couple spots every once in a while here to show you. You can see we got our nice patina all over the model here. Really like how our paint job turned out. Just kind of run along the side of it here and show you that. A little bit over the top. Really like the wheelhouse part of this thing. You can see our algae streaks running down there. Salon detail. Got some nice hatches and vents on the top deck. Here's our neat little skiff. This is detachable. It's got these little wheels here that kind of help hold it in place, which is nice. These covers on the top can also be opened and removed. And here's the propeller. Kind of brighten this up here for you a little bit. Hopefully you guys can see that. I got a nice little algae effect going on there on that bronze. And then we'll kind of take a peek down on the bottom side here. Get you brightened up just a little. Love that little speed indicator kind of auger thing there at the front. That's really cool. Got a little bit more rust going on down here, a little bit heavier where it would collect. Got our nice vents there. Propeller guard with all the corrosion and everything over it. Got a nice movable rudder, which is cool. All the dive planes and everything are movable. Kind of show you that here. These all move around really nice. And then we got our salon. Got this nice feature here where our vents can open up on the top. We can see down inside our stairwell there. There's a hatch down there at the bottom. Not too sure if the shadow will let you see that or not. Overall, it came out really nice. Okay, so when we come up here, you guys, and we open this front hatch, and then we can turn on our power here, and then we can now operate the remote. So our first button here is the D. That turns on our all of our lighting effects for the salon. Up here at the top, we've got our wheelhouse. I'll zoom in on that for you, and you can see the detail on that. All those nice little instruments and everything in there. We got our ballast indicator, our ballast levers, diving plane levers, the ship's wheel. You got the spiral staircase there in the background. And that looks great. Go down here and check out the salon. You can see our detail in there. I'm going to try to zoom in on the organ in the background. See that real nice. And then we'll try to see a little bit up front here. Got the water fountain in the background. Got some nice piping going on around the cabin. Up on the ceiling and all that. Alright, then some extra features that we have here, you guys. We have the sound effects. So this first one is the cruising sound. Goes along with our turning propeller. I really like the rate of speed we got on that. Not too fast, not too slow. Looks like it'd be cruising nicely underneath of the water. That sound comes through really nice from a couple feet away, not too overpowering. Okay, then another feature we have here is we have these alligator eyes that we can light up. And when we do that, we hit our attack sound. And then we can turn those back off. Go back to our cruising mode. Just kind of pan over our little weathering here, our little algae effects. You can see how that all toned down really nice, you guys, once we blended everything in. Didn't want that to be like really overpowering. I've got this matched up pretty close, I think, to the video and the pictures I found of the actual filming model, it's in really poor condition, but you can kind of see what was originally intended to be there. So that's going to be a wrap, you guys. I hope you enjoyed this. About 300 and something hours of printing time. Really had a wonderful experience with my first diving into 3D printing. Again, this model is half, the whole parts have all been printed with an FDM, and all the little detail parts were done with a resin printer. So I'm capable of doing both going forward. I got a couple really cool models I'm working on right now, printing, that we're going to come back and work one of those up for the Chris Cortell tribute build. And again, this is a sort of a hats off to Chris again, using all the craft paints on this. That was something really, really cool that Chris showed me years ago, and he actually got tired of me thanking him for that. I really thought that was awesome, and Chris just was full of great ideas. He's going to be missed, but it helped take my mind off of him being gone here, finishing up this model. So, okay guys, well I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll be back in a couple days. We're going to go full speed on the Nomad next, get that finished out and get that off to my client. Got some neat stuff going on with that, and then once that one's done, we're going to focus a whole bunch on the Enterprise refit until we get a large chunk of that going, and I'll be doing a couple little small little side projects on the side here and there. But here's our Nautilus, guys. Thank you for following along. Hope you guys enjoyed the whole build series, and if you guys have any questions, a couple of you have mentioned that you've downloaded these files and you're going to start working on it. If you have any questions along the way about anything you run into, just let me know and I'll be happy to answer. Kind of a few little things I had to overcome along the way on this, but nothing bad at all. I want to say overall the design of the model is excellent. Whoever did the work on this did a fantastic job with all the detail and making sure everything was engineered and it all works really good. So really appreciate you guys checking this out. Thank you a whole lot, and we'll see you next time, everybody. Until we do, take care and happy modeling, everyone.